Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, pardon me being in my bathrobe. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock and I'm still in my bathrobe. It's mom life for you. But today I wanted to talk about trying to get pregnant while you're still breastfeeding. So, the reason that I can speak to this, I am a nurse practitioner and mom of 2, but I actually got pregnant with my daughter, my second child, while I was still breastfeeding my son. So since then, I've had a lot of people that have asked me how I did it, and I actually never got my period back. It's called catching the first egg. I got pregnant and ovulated before my period ever returned. So a lot of people have asked me since how I did that, and I'm here to share 3 ways that I did it and that you can do it too if that's what you're looking to do. So pardon me, I've got some notes here for you guys so I didn't miss anything. The main thing to understand is lactation amenorrhea, or not having a period when you are lactating and breastfeeding, is the main reason that fertility and getting pregnant can be so hard when you're breastfeeding. So there's actually the lactation amenorrhea method for birth control, and it has 3 criteria that you have to meet in order for it to be successful. They kind of vary on the timeline for some of these, but overall, these are the 3 criteria. Baby has to be fully breastfed, so basically by fully breastfed, what that means is pumping doesn't really count and needs to be eating like day and night. So a lot of people that try to like sleep train and get their baby to sleep through the night, this method probably wouldn't work for preventing pregnancy. So that's why kind of doing the opposite of these 3 criteria can help you to possibly get pregnant while breastfeeding if that's what you'd like to do. So baby is fully breastfeeding day and night, not really taking in a lot of solid foods and not combo feeding with any formula. Second thing, baby is 6 months or less. This varies also. It can be 4 to 6 months. It's really around the time that you introduce solids. So if you don't give your baby solids till 6+ months, it would be around that time, just because baby is taking in more solids, they're taking in less breast milk, they're breastfeeding less. Third thing is your period or menstrual cycle has not returned yet. This one is a little bit, I don't really like that they count this as a criteria for the lactation method of preventing pregnancy, because like I just told you, for me, I didn't have a period back and I still was able to get pregnant. So that one is a little bit touchy. However, the statistics do say that up to, I think it's 60% of people, even if they ovulate, their luteal phase or second phase of their menstrual cycle, so from ovulation till when they get their period, is too short and or irregular to support a viable pregnancy. So progesterone levels aren't high enough. Other things that you need to have in order for implantation to be successful and for you to maintain a healthy pregnancy are not there in up to 60% of people that actually, like the first time that they ovulate after breastfeeding. So with that being said, let's go on here. So 3 things that I did that helped me and that you can do also is including a supplement called Vitex or Chasteberry. Usually if you go on like the mom forums on Reddit and other things, this is like a pretty common one to try to get pregnant while breastfeeding. So let me just bring up like the main things about it. It's been around for a very long time, and it comes from a tree, and it has berries, the purple flower. It regulates hormones and promotes fertility. It's not fully understood with a lot of things with fertility and anything kind of really regarding female health. It's not exactly known how it works, but it does address the pituitary ovarian axis in women. So it's thought that it actually can help regulate and increase the secretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then acts on the ovaries to help with estrogen and progesterone regulation and secretion so that ovulation can occur. So basically you need luteinizing hormone to rise suddenly and have a peak for an egg to be released from the ovary. So that's kind of the axis that it works on. I used it while trying to get pregnant with my daughter because my period had not come back with my son. I was still breastfeeding him, and I kind of looked into this supplement, and didn't really have a lot of drawbacks, so I was willing to try it. I took it based on the dosage on the bottle that I took, which the brand I think was Zazie or Zazzy. I can link it below. But I took it, and then I believe I started it, we conceived in May. I believe I started it in April. I didn't really have a whole lot of side effects from it. I did have some like very mild diarrhea. Hard to say if that was from that or something else. But yeah, there's really not a whole lot of contraindications. It can interact with some medications, but I don't take any meds. So for me, I didn't have an issue with it. It can, just the caveat to this is that it can slightly decrease prolactin, which is the hormone that causes you to produce milk. So it can temporarily decrease your milk supply. So if you had issues with milk supply, if your baby is like very young that you're nursing, I wouldn't take it. It's also been used sometimes to help women that have weaned and want to decrease supply so they don't get mastitis or engorgement, and or in people that have an oversupply. So just kind of a caution with that. It will likely change somewhat of your milk supply because that's what is keeping you from ovulating. Okay, second thing, it's super important to track ovulation and to know how to do that. So you can't get pregnant without ovulating. It's much harder to get pregnant if you don't know when you're ovulating. There's multiple methods to do this. You can use basal body temping, cervical mucus monitoring. You can track your symptoms. Basal body temp monitoring is pretty common, I would say, probably the most common method. It's not super accurate when you're breastfeeding. So because progesterone is the hormone that's responsible for variations in basal body temp, that is what is mostly affected with prolactin levels. So you can miss your ovulation, and it's not super helpful when you're breastfeeding. Also, usually a basal body temp is like a retroactive method, meaning it will confirm that you did ovulate, but it's not going to tell you you're fertile right now. Like, it's not really accurate like that. So I didn't use any basal body temping while breastfeeding because I just didn't think it was helpful. The other option is tracking cervical mucus. So there's a couple ways to do this. Usually you have to be pretty comfortable with your own anatomy because you have to check your cervical mucus, and you're looking for egg white consistency. That is the most fertile cervical mucus. It indicates ovulation. Once it starts, you usually ovulate within 2 to 3 days. But even if you're just having egg white cervical mucus where it's like slippery, you are fertile at that time because sperm can live in the female reproductive tract up to 5 days. So if you're having egg white cervical mucus, it's a good time to time intercourse to get pregnant, even while breastfeeding. There's also some fertility trackers that check cervical mucus. I think the main one is KEGG, K-E-G-G. I think that is the only fertility monitor that tests cervical mucus. I'll do a whole review on that at another time, but I just think that's pretty interesting. Sorry I talk so fast. My toddler I think Paw Patrol has ended, so I'm trying to get this video out, and that's why I'm also recording my bathrobe, because I just wanted to create the video and upload it as fast as possible for you guys. Tracking your ovulation is critical. So cervical mucus is a really good method, and then also using luteinizing hormone test strips. So these are like the P strips that you use. Some of them look pretty similar to pregnancy tests, but they're testing for luteinizing hormone. Just like I was mentioning, luteinizing hormone has a peak and it elevates when you're ovulating. Usually right when you hit the peak, it's within 8 to 24 hours of that peak that you release the egg or ovulate. So I use the Pre-Mom test strips. They're very simple. They actually come with some pregnancy tests in there, but they're cheap and you can get a lot of them. I really liked that. There are like fancier ones that come with wands. I think one is called Inito, I-N-I-T-O. And there's one other one that I'm forgetting right now. I think it might be Mira, M-I-R-A. Both of them come with these like really fancy test strips that are pretty expensive, and like a monitor that you actually plug the strip into. They test for other things other than luteinizing hormone, like other metabolites of hormones. But luteinizing hormone is the main one that you need to test for ovulation. So combining cervical mucus monitoring and the OPK test strips is what I did. It helped me. We did think that I thought we were possibly pregnant in April. I didn't actually ovulate, even though I did get a peak on a luteinizing hormone test strip. I didn't actually ovulate that month. I did ovulate in May before getting my period back, and that's when we got pregnant with my daughter. The final thing, number 3, is cutting a nursing session. So I did this as well. It's sudden changes in your nursing patterns or breastfeeding patterns that can help you kind of like jumpstart ovulation. So let's just say baby's only waking up once in the night, and you completely cut that feed out. They're older, they're like 9+ months. I really would wait longer than that, but let's say they're 10 months old. You cut that nursing pattern. It's that sudden change that can induce ovulation. So with my son, he was 9.5 months when we started trying, like when we thought we wanted 2 kids close together. So we tried these methods, and I did cut 1 session out. So you can also cut duration, but that's kind of involves like timing, how long you're usually breastfeeding, and that's a lot. There's already so many things to track in motherhood, and that's not the one that I wanted to do. But let's just say you usually nurse for 10 minutes at a time, or 20, let's just say 20 minutes at a time. That's pretty average. 20 minutes at a time, and you cut that drastically down to 10 minutes. That can also help ovulation. The other reason I don't really love that is like if your baby is nursing, it just seems kind of mean to like pop them off and have them stop if they're not done. So I think just cutting a session is easier. You can replace that session. It's like kind of how you would wean. So you can replace that session with solid foods or with some water and solid foods. There's like other methods, like just like with weaning, in order to help boost ovulation. So those are the 3 methods that I used, and that you could use to get pregnant while breastfeeding. So just to recap, supplementing with Vitex or chasteberry, tracking ovulation and make sure you time intercourse for ovulation, and then cutting a nursing session. So either a session or decreasing total time nursing in order to ovulate while breastfeeding and to like catch the egg. Now, all of this should be caveated on the fact that there is a reason that you are not as fertile when you're breastfeeding. That's your body's way of making sure that you don't have babies too close together, because they take a tremendous, pregnancy and breastfeeding take a tremendous amount of resources on mom. So it's not really recommended to have an inter-pregnancy. Yeah. Yeah. Why don't you go sit down and I'll put it on right now. Okay, I'll be right back. So it's not really recommended to have an inter-pregnancy interval of less than 18 months. 18 months is the gold standard. Now that is from when you finished being pregnant, so when you delivered your baby, and getting pregnant the next time. It is not talking about how far apart your kids are in age. So an important distinction there. So 18 months is the gold standard. Anything less than 12 months puts mom at quite a bit of risk as far as like poor pregnancy outcomes and possibly outcomes for the baby, so preterm birth, things like that, but also just the risk of postnatal depletion syndrome. So kind of I'll talk about that in another video too, but all the nutrients that are kind of taken out of mom is going to be a lot higher with subsequent pregnancies when they're close together. So that's like the main reason that you aren't really fertile and able to get pregnant when you're breastfeeding. So yeah, I hope that these were helpful for you, and I hope you tune in. If you enjoyed this content, please go ahead and subscribe and then hit the thumbs up button below, and I'll be back to share some more soon. Have a good day.